Welcome to my channel, Veteran's Legacy. Today's story is one that will leave you speechless. It's about an old veteran with a bright orange rifle, a rifle that made young Marines laugh, until a single, impossible shot echoed across the valley and silenced them all. So sit back, open your heart, and listen to the legacy of a man whose skill, humility, and courage reminded everyone what true honor really looks like. It was another blistering afternoon at Camp Pendleton. The California sun beat down hard on the range, turning the air into a shimmering haze. A group of young Marines gathered near the sniper training area, cracking jokes and nudging each other as a convoy of trucks approached from the dirt road. The trucks stopped, and out stepped an old man, maybe late 60s, maybe older. He wore faded jeans, dusty boots, and a cap that looked like it had been through a war, because it had. His gray beard framed a face carved by time and memory. But what caught everyone's eye wasn't him, it was the rifle case he carried. Bright orange. Yo, what is that? A Nerf gun, one of the younger Marines joked, loud enough for the others to hear. The group burst out laughing. The old man didn't flinch. He just smiled faintly and said, "Guess we'll find out." The commanding officer, Captain Reynolds, stepped forward. "Gentlemen," he said, "this here is Sergeant Major William Hawk Henderson, retired. You'll be assisting him during this week's extreme range training." The laughter faded quickly, but some of the younger ones still exchanged doubtful looks. They'd heard the name before, whispered stories about a Marine sniper who could hit targets no one else could see. But that was years ago. Times had changed, technology had changed, and to them, he was just an old man with an orange rifle. The first day was simple, standard sniper training. Wind calls, spotting, adjustments. Hawk didn't talk much, he just observed, sometimes offering a few words of advice. One Marine, Private Diaz, muttered under his breath, "Man, why's he even here? We got laser rangefinders now." Hawk heard him. He didn't respond. Instead, he knelt beside the young Marine and adjusted his rifle. "The laser won't help you if your hands are shaking," he said quietly. "Control the fear, and the shot will follow." By the end of the session, Diaz's grouping had improved. He didn't say anything, but he stopped talking, too. Still, most of the squad wasn't impressed. Especially Sergeant Cole, the top shooter in the unit. Cole had been in Afghanistan, had medals, and thought he'd seen it all. That evening, while cleaning their rifles, Cole nudged his buddy. "Bet that old-timer couldn't hit a target past a mile anymore. Look at that paint job, orange. What's that supposed to be? Camouflage for pumpkins?" The laughter returned, and that's when the old man walked in. He overheard every word. He sat down quietly beside them, began unpacking his rifle. The orange paint gleamed under the fading light. "This rifle's been with me since '89, Hawk said. "Painted it orange so nobody mistook it for an enemy weapon when we were training Allied forces overseas. Saved me a couple of times." Cole smirked. "You could repaint it now, you know." Hawk smiled again. "Why, it never missed a shot because of the color." The next morning, Captain Reynolds gathered everyone at the far edge of the training field. "All right, listen up. Today's a special day. The general's visiting tomorrow for a live demonstration. We need to prove this base still produces the best long-range shooters in the Corps." He turned to Hawk. "Sergeant Major, think you can give these boys a little show?" Hawk just nodded. They drove out to the high ridge. The wind up there was brutal, gusting hard from the west, carrying the scent of sagebrush and dust. Targets were set at increasing distances. 800 meters, 1200, 1600, and one at 2500, the limit of most Marine rifles. Hawk took his place. The young Marines watched curiously. He opened the orange case and assembled the rifle, a custom-built .408 Chatak, old but well-maintained. Its scope had scratches, the barrel, tiny nicks of history. No fancy tech, no computers. Just skill. He took his first shot, 800 meters. Direct hit. Second shot, 1200. Hit. 1600. Hit again. Then he turned to Captain Reynolds. "You got anything farther?" Reynolds frowned. "Farther than 1600, not officially." But Hawk pointed toward the horizon. "That ridge out there, looks like about 4,000 meters. Mind if I try?" The Marines started whispering. 4,000. That's impossible. No way that bullet holds energy that far. He's crazy. Reynolds hesitated. There's no target. Hawk smiled. Then let's make one. He pulled a worn piece of tin from the back of the truck, a rusted, dented sign from an old training post, and drove it into the dirt on the far ridge. The young Marines laughed again. He's just showing off. But as Hawk lay prone, adjusting his scope, the laughter faded. He wasn't rushing. He was feeling the air, watching the mirage waves dance across the desert. Wind's pulling 5 clicks left, he murmured. Elevation drop's gonna be 32 meters at that range. Cole shook his head. He's guessing. Hawk closed one eye. The other, sharp and steady, focused through the scope. He exhaled. He squeezed the trigger. The shot cracked, a thunderous boom rolling across the desert. Seconds passed. Then more seconds. Then, ping. The faint metallic sound echoed back across the ridge. Every Marine froze. Did he just? No way. That was 4 kilometers. Hawk lifted his head. Still works. The range went silent. Even Captain Reynolds had his mouth half open. That's impossible. Hawk stood, dusted off his pants, and said, nothing's impossible if you respect the shot. That night, the story spread across the base like wildfire. By morning, everyone knew about the old man and the orange rifle. The general arrived shortly after sunrise, curious about the rumors. He was a tall, stern man, known for his precision and professionalism. Where's this veteran everyone's talking about? He asked. Captain Reynolds led him to the ridge. Hawk was already there, setting up again. The general watched quietly. Then he said, Sergeant Major Henderson, you're still alive, huh? The young Marines turned, confused. Hawk saluted. Alive and still breathing, sir. The general grinned. Men, this man saved my convoy in Iraq, 2004. Enemy spotters had us pinned from a mountain 2 miles away. He took them out with 1 rifle and 3 bullets. Gasps rippled through the group. Hawk didn't look proud, just calm. Just did my job, sir. The general gestured toward the range. Let's see if you've still got it. This time, the setup was different. The general had a small reconnaissance drone place a reflective plate exactly 4,000 meters away, on the same ridge Hawk had hit before. The Marines gathered behind, silent. The old veteran lay down again, adjusted his scope. The wind had changed, stronger now. He took his time, breathing slow, heartbeat steady. He could feel the world narrowing down, the target, the wind, the trigger, all becoming one. He fired. Seconds stretched. Then, ping, a perfect hit. The general's jaw tightened, not in disbelief, but pride. He turned to the Marines. That's why you don't laugh at the old guard, gentlemen. They built the ground you stand on. The Marines nodded, some with tears forming quietly in their eyes. Even Cole, the cocky sergeant, stepped forward. Sir, I'm sorry about earlier, he said. I didn't know. Hawk smiled softly. You don't need to be sorry, son. You just need to learn. That's what Marines do. As the sun began to set, the general asked Hawk to stay a little longer. They sat by the trucks, the orange rifle between them. You know, the general said, I still remember when you trained me to shoot back in Quantico. You had that same rifle. Hawk nodded. It's been with me through everything. Never failed me once. The general chuckled. You ever think of retiring it? Hawk looked out toward the horizon. Maybe when I stop breathing. Then he paused. But I'll leave it here, for the next Marine who thinks color matters more than accuracy. The general smiled. You sure they'll be able to handle it? Hawk grinned. Only one way to find out. When the general left, he called Captain Reynolds aside. I want that man honored. Quietly. He doesn't need a parade. But the Corps should never forget him. The next week, they dedicated the new sniper range as Henderson Ridge. A small plaque stood at the entrance. In honor of Sergeant Major William Hawk Henderson, whose eyes saw farther than most dared to dream. And just beneath the plaque, mounted behind glass, was the orange rifle. Months passed. The Marines who'd trained under Hawk spoke of him often. Cole, now a sniper instructor himself, started every new class with the same words. Never laugh at a Marine's weapon. Because skill lives in the hands, not the hardware. And sometimes, when the wind blew just right across the ridge, a faint echo, the sound of a single perfect shot, seemed to whisper through the air.